What's up, you guys? I'm Eric and welcome back to my channel. No, you grow up. Today's video, I want to talk about something that I kind of see constantly in groups, and I feel like a lot of people seem to be making some bad decisions. So I'm hoping that this video can help to educate people so they can maybe not make terrible decisions when buying, selling, or trading their figures and stuff like that. So what I want to talk about today is the difference between rare items and items that are just currently rare or temporarily rare because of manufactured scarcity, and then the other type of manufactured scarcity such as like limited editions, limited quantity, and stuff like that. So the first thing I want to talk about is the rare category. Anything that's rare just means that it's really hard to find, and when I say really hard to find, I feel like people get confused about what really hard to find is. So to kind of give you some examples that are pretty common to our community, a figure like the white jersey Slam Dunk and Don, that figure is very rare. That is why it goes for such a high price point. Same with the most common figure that people probably think of when they think of a rare figure in the Playmates line is Scratch. Again, he came out later in the end of the line. He had a very low production run, so there wasn't a lot of figures out there, so he is very rare today. People don't want these figures because of their nostalgia. They want them because of the low run they have and the fact that other people don't have them, so they have something unique to their collection, making it stand out. So with this finite number, even if new figures are made, like let's say Playmates is reproducing figures right now, if they were to ever reproduce a Scratch, I don't think it would do anything to affect the price of the original Scratch, because that figure is probably just so much better than the new one would be. I mean, we've seen the work Playmates is doing with the re-release figures. They're terrible. I mean, look at that Mutagen Man that just came out. Another thing that might make a figure rare is that if they have like an accessory that was easily breakable, or the figure itself was really breakable, even if there was a lot of them made, there might not be a lot of them that made it to adulthood, so adult collectors can get it now, so that figure has become more rare over time, and it may only get more rare over time. So the next thing I want to talk about and how it differs from rarity is manufactured scarcity. So manufactured scarcity is when a company produces a limited amount of something intentionally or unintentionally, and I'm going to use examples of both here when I go over this. So the non-intentional reason for manufactured scarcity would be if they're having trouble with shipping, if they're having trouble with production, if they're having trouble, I mean, we've seen it recently with all these shipping issues with boats being stuck on the water and stuff like that, and things being stuck on cargo ships and just not being able to get off the boat and onto trucks and into consumers' hands and stuff like that. So companies don't really intend for things like this to happen, it's just kind of the way that it happens. And then there's intentional scarcity, which is like when companies do limited runs or limited edition and stuff like that. So the reason they would do that is to drive up the want for these figures, because again, they can charge a higher price point because they know it's going to be a limited quantity. Collectors are going to want something that's limited, so they will pay that upcharge for it. So let's go over a couple examples for both of these and compare how they differ and stuff like that, and then we're going to compare them to Rarity, and then I kind of want to get into the main point of why I made this video. So a good recent example of an unintentional manufactured scarcity was when NECA put out their Toon Toka and Razar figures way back in the spring when they were unloading all that stuff on costumes.com. So all the figures that were put out then were intended for the foreign buyers and stuff like that. But people quickly learned that even if you're in the US, you could get on there and order stuff, even though it got canceled for some people, didn't for other people. But people were just freaking out that they weren't going to be able to get these figures. I remember in groups, people were like, this is it, this is going to be our only chance, NECA's not going to put these out again, they're going to be rare. But even at that point, NECA had been doing an excellent job of getting out the volume of figures that seemed to be meeting demand. I mean, for the first time, we started seeing figures peg-warm and stuff like that because demand was starting to be met. NECA has figured out how much needs to be put out there, and they've got the number figured out. And I tried explaining to people then that they're not going to leave money on the table. And they're going to be like, well, they've done it before with this, this, and this. And they're pretty much just naming examples of like Comic-Con exclusive sets and stuff like that. And again, I had to explain the difference, which I'll get into later. But I had full faith that these figures would eventually be out. Clearly, they just didn't have enough manufactured to meet enough demand for the US and foreign markets. The foreign market is probably a lot more limited. They had a smaller amount made, so they were probably going to ship those overseas into Canada and all the foreign buyers and stuff like that. And then when the bigger run finally got here, they were going to have that for the US. And that's exactly what happened. In the second round of collector, I can't even remember what the name of their collector shit is, but Toon Toka and Razar just recently came out, and they were very easy to get. And if you notice, there was a lot of people buying not just 1 or 2, but 3 of these packs. And it's because they thought these figures were rare, and that wasn't the case. These figures just hadn't really had their full retail release yet, because NECA clearly didn't manufacture enough in time to get it out for their first event, so they had to have the US release come at the second event. So people out there thought they were finding gold, but really they were finding sets that were just as common as the other ones they were only buying 1 of at the time. An example of this that's intentional, and this is kind of where the two streams cross. So this is where you get things that are more modern that are rare, but they're rare by designs. The companies want these figures to be rare, that's why they're putting out a limited edition or a limited quantity, and with some of them they're numbered. So a recent example of this is the Ultimate NECA April O'Neil that came out with a raincoat. I think there was only 25, or there's 2,000 or 2,500 of those produced, I can't remember. So we know the exact amount of figures that there are for those. That's the amount there is, that's the amount there will always be. There will always be 2,500 of those figures that have the raincoat in the box, and that's it. We know exactly what the number is, so we can kind of go from there and already know how rare that figure is, and the market's kind of already set itself with that figure, and it'll probably stay around the same because, again, it's figured out. There's not going to be more of these figures that are produced. We know this is the amount, and this is what people are willing to spend to have that figure right now. So what's the point of me talking about this? And the reason is because I see a lot of people that look like they're willing to trade things that are actually rare for things that are just scarce right now, and that's a really bad idea, because things that are scarce, they don't have a set number. There just haven't been a lot that have been produced, and there can continuously be more that are produced over and over and over, and you might end up, like I said, trading something that is truly rare that there is only 2,000 of for something that they might end up producing 30,000 of, and that's a terrible idea. So the recent example of this is the Secret of the Used figures that have slowly been leaking out. People seem to be getting very impatient waiting for these to come out, but the mass wave is coming. There is going to be a ton of these figures. NECA is not stupid. They're not going to leave money on the table. When the original movie figures came out, they were very sought after and very hard to find. And then after NECA did their first re-release in Walmart, they were still pretty hard to find. Even then, people were doubled up on them, and they were still hard to get. They were still going for over double retail value. But once NECA put out their third wave release, or their fourth wave release of these figures, I'm not going to say that they were peg warming by any means, but at this point I've probably seen over 22 packs of Leo and Donnie and over 22 packs of Raph and Mikey at all the different Walmarts that I've been to. There was just a brand new, I wouldn't say brand new, but there was a pack of Raph and Mikey that just hit my Walmart that hadn't been there before when I was out there looking for Secret of the Used stuff. So again, the Secret of the Ooze stuff is going to come, and it's going to come in volumes, and even if it doesn't meet demand now, they're going to put out more. So just be patient. Don't trade rare things. I've seen people say they're willing to trade like their loot crate figures and stuff like that. And again, we don't know the number of loot crates. We don't know how many were sold. We don't know how many of those figures there are. But I can promise you, at the end of the day, there's going to be way less of those figures than there are Secret of the Ooze figures. NECA is going to pump out those Secret of the Ooze figures. They are not dumb. They are going to meet demand. And again, if they don't do it on this run, they'll do it on another run or one after that. They'll keep pumping these figures out. There is very little reason for a company to be excited about the third-party market for their figures, because they don't see anything from that. If their figures are selling for 3 times markup on the aftermarket, that doesn't benefit them at all. Why wouldn't they just want to make more figures so that way people can buy them and not pay these marked up prices? And that's what they do, because they're not stupid. That's why they made more of the original movie figures. And again, if something is still being produced, there's no limit to how many runs they can do of something. Something that is rare now can end up being very overproduced. Alright you guys, so I hope I was able to edit that into something coherent. Again, if you see me in a different position or a different shirt, it's probably because I had to do a reshoot because I just rambled and mumbled so much that my takes were terrible, or I completely glossed over important ideas. So thank you all for watching this video. Thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you to everyone that has just stuck with me and been patient. I know I'm not the best speaker. I know I still say a lot. I'm trying so much harder to get better at it, and it is something that I actively think about. but I'm telling you, talking to a camera is fucking weird. Like, if you've never done it before, just try it, because it's not natural at all. If I was just talking to another human, it would be a million times easier. So again, just bear with me. I'm not a good monologue giver, but I'm trying my damnedest. So again, thank you to all the subscribers. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. And that's all I really got for you in this one. So take it easy, be safe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.